which before it was bought by him was the Berghain of back in the day. Before Berghain was Berghain,
Really?
it was that bunker. People partied there. An artist that was censored by both the Nazis and the communists.
That this is really illegal to post these kind of words.
I think it makes it a city that has very different feedback from visitors. Some don't get it, they find it awful because it's just modern buildings and a lot of things mixed up. Others see beauty in that because it speaks to the history that the city went through.
Today's video finds me at the Berlin Wall, an iconic site I've walked past many times, but here's the thing, no matter how much you read, how many Google searches or guidebooks you flick through, nothing quite compares to hearing the stories from someone who lives it. That's why I often begin any city break with a walking tour. A local guide doesn't just show you what's there, they reveal what's hidden. And in a city like Berlin, those hidden layers run deep. Today's video is a glimpse of one of those moments in a walking tour that I just recently got back from.
East Berlin, 1961, the very same year the wall was built, was established, and this traffic psychologist, who could not draw, had to rely on his secretary to put into paper what he wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted to use a larger area of the traffic light to make it more visible. He wanted to reinforce the messaging of the color. That's why he picked the red to have wide open arms to create the idea of an obstacle. Because when you face an obstacle, you stop. And the green one, he designed in a fashion that the way he positions the arm and leg creates a narrow moving forward, or suggesting to move forward and inducing movement. And both red and green, both little men, are wearing hats, because most men wore hats back in the day, and that made it more relatable, especially for children.
Right.
Studies do show that for children this is more relatable as a person than the Western design. And this was developed in this, so it was only present in the eastern side, and it even became part of the popular culture. There were TV shows with the traffic light men getting off the traffic light to tell children, or adults as well, to how to behave in traffic, on the streets, animation. So it was part of their culture. And after unification in 1990, the idea was to uniformize with the Western design throughout all the country. And some Easterns spoke against it because this was part of their popular culture. So in fact they went to court to protect these traffic lights, and they succeeded. And now it's quite interesting that it has become a brand image of Berlin. So it's no longer, now it's split between East and West, so it's no longer an indicator of the former division of the city. So it has been embraced by all the city, in fact.
And when did the West Berliners, embrace it? What year? Was it just after 1990s, or was it later?
It was mid-90s.
Mid-90s. So all the traffic lights got replaced back in the mid-90s in the West?
Now it's mixed up. So in fact, even other cities that did not used to have them have the choice of using them as well. And in the 2000s, and very fitting for today, they address gender equality by creating the traffic light woman that you find in Dresden and Chemnitz and other cities, not in Berlin. But in the 2000s they came up with the traffic light woman. So now the traffic light man has some companion.
It's nice.
It's cute. It's cute.
It's nice. What is he holding in his hand as he's striding in the green traffic light? What is that?
I've never noticed, to be honest. I think it's just.
Is it just his long arm?
Yeah, I think it's a long arm.
Okay. It's not like an umbrella.
Not that I can think of anything. I haven't heard about it.
I was wondering if it was an umbrella or something, but it's not.
I don't think so. So
just particularly long arm.
I think it's up for interpretation if you like it to be a man who's prepared for every kind of weather. Although I think you Londoners do not use umbrellas. You just embrace the drizzle.
It was just maybe, I was implanting what we were used to. Yeah, that was probably what it was. I don't know. But who knows? You got the hats, maybe the umbrella, that was it.
Yeah.
So
well, we are getting to the East Side Gallery, which is the largest open-air gallery in the world.
Yeah.
And it's quite a unique story. It's the longest section of the former Berlin Wall that is still standing. It's 1 kilometer, 350 meters, so it's quite a big extension. And its origin lies behind the merging of two artistic associations. An Eastern and a Western artistic associations came together, which is kind of an achievement because in the city sometimes we still have twice, triple, quadruple times the same infrastructure because we can never decide who we are getting angry by shutting down the zoo, the opera house, the theater, or whatever. So we keep with these multiple structures. But here, these two associations decided to work together. Some claim it was a pragmatic approach from the Easterns. Suddenly, with the collapse of the Eastern state, they were out of a job. There were no funds for them to produce counters, so they had to learn to thrive in the capitalistic world. But independently of that, they came together. And to celebrate that, they invited artists from all over the world, 21 countries in fact, to paint murals on this former section of the wall that would speak to what they thought would be depicting the days that were being lived. Coming together, walls falling down, democracy. Interesting enough, the climate threat was already a topic. It was a time that we started discussing the ozone layer, the Rio conference in '92, and these topics. And they are represented over 105 murals. Quite unique. And as you can well imagine when this was painted, when artists just came to leave their work on this wall, on these murals, they were not expecting it to be here 35 years later. So no one was even using paint meant for outdoor conditions. So in 2009, for the 20th celebration of the fall of the Berlin Wall, on November 9th, 1989, they decided to paint everything over, level the wall, and invited artists to come back for a symbolic remuneration and paint it again, this time to last. I believe also with some kind of anti-tagging layer, because it used to be severely tagged over, and now it is not.
Wow.
And that's why, as we walk past some of them, you'll notice 1990, 2009, 2 dates of the intervention that they came. You also notice there's email addresses and mobile phone numbers which would not have been existing in 1990. So that speaks to the evolution of it. And some of the murals are very meaningful. The one that we have right here, of course, has a lot of impact. The Israeli and German flags just opposed with a message.
And this was here originally back in 1990?
Yeah, 1990.
1990.
And this artist, basically, he invites you to bridge November 9th, 1938, the pogrom against the Jews, the Crystal Night, with November 9th, 89, the fall of the wall. Do not forget the past, but be able to build future together. And later on, he had this message, Time Bomb, with the name of places, cities, villages, where extreme right-wing attacks took place against minorities, that the threat is still around.
And so when were those attacks happening?
Oh, throughout the 90s.
Oh, right, okay.
Now it's even said, okay, it's not minorities, but Solingen, this was a right-wing attack in the 90s, but like this year was the stage of an attack on the population on a street festival, that some of them were murdered by a perpetrator last September, if I'm not wrong.
It's strange how nothing really changes, is it?
No. And we'll see it a little bit further.
What strikes me every time I visit Berlin is how much the city continues to evolve. The wall, once a brutal symbol of division, now stands as a living artwork layered with voices from around the world. It captures the city's spirit, raw, resilient, and constantly rewriting itself. And without this tour, I'd have missed so much of that context. A good guide doesn't just show you landmarks, they decode them. If you're ever in Berlin, or any city for that matter, start with a walking tour. It adds colour, history, and meaning you simply won't find scrolling through a screen or pages of a guidebook.
So what we love about art, that it has a message to you that you can have your own take. As I was telling you before, the climate threat. These artists claimed that we would end up living wearing masks. We could only breathe wearing masks. And we have the oil dripping, creating a world of horrors.
They were-
Interconnected.
They were kind of right a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And who knows? So, pollution. We're not there yet.
Art can foresee the future.
Do you have a favorite?
I have a few. I think you can become a honorary member of Berlin, although there's no deposit on that bottle. You position it out of dent so it doesn't get kicked out.
And guess.
And so
I
thank
guess
you for that.
That's all right.
Appreciate it. I would not say I have one favorite. I'll point you out two that I find very meaningful.
Okay.
And I think that's special. And of course, even the Fraternal Kiss being the most famous, of course, it's an impactful one.
Yeah,
So I cannot
yeah.
exclude it from the thinking of this itinerary.
Do you understand what they all mean, or is it sometimes?
Not all of them, but I keep coming and trying to have a take on each.
I was trying to explain the pipes yesterday.
Have you taken any historical tour on this trip?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. So, since you've been here before, did you hear about the root of the name of Berlin? Why Berlin is named Berlin?
Go on.
It comes, interesting enough, it's the evolution of a Slavic word, not a German one. The root of the name of Berlin is Slavic.
Okay.
Before the city was founded in 1237, this region of Europe used to be a source of competition between nomadic settlements of Slavic and Germanic people. And it happened to be the Slavs who named Berlin in a way that I cannot pronounce. Usually I can only experience that Polish speakers can pronounce it just like that.
Yeah.
I thought other Slavic languages, Czech, Slovenian, would be able to, but they don't. Because the original name of Berlin, which now is also became the first successful craft beer of Berlin, they named it Murals. It's a B and R, a crossed L, that's a challenge, and an O. I've been told to imagine a B and R, a W and an O, and to rush through it, Murals. And Berlin is a phonetic evolution of that word, that it's, although it's Slavic, it speaks to the spirit of German creativity, inexistent. It is what it is,
Yeah.
swamp. The city was developed on
Swamp.
so it's called a swamp. It's literally
Slavic
swamp.
Now, as a Slav, as a Slav yourself, is that Ukrainian or Russian or Blo? No, Blo.
I can show you. I can show you how they write it. Like I said, the Polish speakers can very easily
To get it.
get it. Czechs cannot. So this is the beer. In fact, it's the first thing that comes up.
So we were at the brewery last night.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so,
Brlo.
yeah.
Brlo.
But
There's something.
maybe it's the Poles, the different Slavs.
Because even if you are not aware of it, there's in Brandenburg, the state that surrounds Berlin,
Yeah.
Towards it has border with Poland, there's a minority that has an official language, Sorbian, Sorbin, and that's a Slavic language. That's an official language of that minority on the border with Poland and the Czech Republic, and that's still a recognized official language. So, and that's Slavic, not German.
Okay, and then they recognize the Blolo.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you go to Potsdam, for instance,
Yeah.
They recovered the former city palace,
Yeah.
which is now the seat of the parliament of Brandenburg, and it has at the entrance the names in both German and Sorbian,
Okay.
really written on the wall, so very, very clear.
Thank you for gripping my beer there.
You probably heard this African saying, many small people in many small places doing many small things can change the face of the world. And still inspirational. There's no way to go around it. And in the end, it speaks to the story of this wall. It was the perseverance of people that kept trying to flee, to escape, to demonstrate, to speak against it, that in the end brought it down. Yeah, so I think it's very well placed here. It was a good idea from this artist.
Now, I noticed you got some blank ones over here. Is this because they?
There's different takes on it. Some claim it's just to remember how the wall it used to be, which would not have been so clear.
Yeah.
I tend to agree more with the argument that in 2009, when they painted over and asked artists to come back and repaint it, some refused to come for the amount of money they were offering. They claimed it was a multi-million project and they were offering 3,000 euros to each artist, and they felt that was ridiculous and didn't want to take part. Also, there has been a huge judicial fight about copyright on these works, because of course when this was painted no one expected this to become a famous site and be multiple times photographed and come up in books.
Yeah.
So some artists tried to get copyright on these works, which they did not succeed getting.
And then they turned down the 3K, which seems a bit silly because they probably could have come and had a good time.
Yeah.
Most people.
You're asking about favorites. This is one that usually no one really stops looking at, but I find it incredibly meaningful and very special. I think it was very smart or brilliant from this artist. He decided to paint the work of another artist. So this painting here is the work of the painter Hans Meisel, an artist that was censored by both the Nazis and the communists. So basically he was censored throughout his life. And this is the way this artist found to make the statement, never ever censorship in the arts. So I find it a very powerful message.
I like
and
that.
a brilliant way how it was done, like to refer to someone that has been censored as an example of what should be avoided and prevented from.
And what was the reason both groups didn't like his
Well,
work?
for the Nazis it was too modernist, and for the communists it was his beliefs did not fit the regime, and they were much more oriented to social realism, society working together, the blue-collar workers being there. This was out of the fashion of their time. So.
Do we see the religious symbology of the cross in the middle?
It might be. That's a very, very perfect. It's the heart of it, to be honest. So, and for the eastern side was not particularly fond of religion. It was not prohibited in Eastern Germany, but it was not promoted. My partner grew in Eastern Germany as a Catholic. He was teased at primary school for believing in God, like his family believing in God. So.
In general, socialistic art was quite functional. So it has to serve the purpose of that time, the message of party. So it was never about just creating something beautiful. You always have to deliver a message. I understand why it wasn't.
Also live behind the Iron Curtain.
Yes. Yeah, clearly that has another impact, especially.
No, exactly.
Present,
and I guess we were lucky not to.
Like this wall, it's not been a crazy amount of time ago. Like it's, we're celebrating 45 years, and this message also becomes important now that you've learned what freedom means. Do not ever forget it again, so to say. So, and in the current times, and we're going through a very agitated month, to say the least. It seems more actual than ever that you can forget about what it means. You become too accommodated to take it for granted.
Is it okay if I ask you some political questions on camera? Yeah?
Also, still actual, and I think, of course, it brings Ukraine to mind.
Yeah.
The big Kremlin wind, it takes everything on its way. Wherever it blows, it takes everything along.
Wow. And you got Tempus Fugit, that means, that's the Latin for, is that just that?
Time passing.
Yes. Yeah, you could, those little people could be the Ukrainians today.
Unfortunately, I think in the 90s you had the hope, I was saying, the end of history, that we will no longer have this kind of conflict.
But at that time, I can imagine for people, it was as scary and dramatic as it is now for the whole world. There are some changes. You don't know what they mean for you, for your future.
Not at all.
The amount of uncertainty is just huge. So people who just went through this time, I believe they have very different mindset.
Absolutely.
They're ready, to all the changes.
And in fact, I think it's the most important time to be speaking with them, because they have a memory of how things were, and why they were not good. See people concentrating at the Fraternal Kiss, it's really the
Wow.
highlight.
I hate to say it, I've been guilty with those tour buses. We rock up, we get coffee, and then they cross
That's
the road,
all right.
and that's it. So
That's all right.
different tours.
But as I was telling before, like when I moved to Berlin in 2010, there were those two buildings at the beginning of the street. There was the arena that was here forward and Eastern Station at the end. So this is really a whole new. What this used to be a buffer approaching the wall, so they would have free vision to control anyone trying
Yeah.
to approach. And I never ended why we discussed why Berlin is named Berlin, but that speaks to the pipes that you were wondering
Yes.
what their purpose is. They are connected with construction sites. They are temporary. It can be a long temporary time frame, but they drain water from construction sites to the river, canal, or another water stream, because the groundwater runs so high that from the moment you dig, you have water coming out. So you have to divert it to a water stream till you beyond the long-term piping that will keep the
So-
buildings dry.
so
But to
ev-
build foundations, you have to dry the terrain so you can dig and build.
So every pipe we see like that around Berlin
It's
is
construction it's
to
linked-
drain the water.
Yes, connected to a construction site. Different colors according to the suppliers.
Right.
Usually you have blue, pink, and green. And some Berliners started with the popular joke. I find it a little bit ridiculous that one, I think the blue is for beer and the pink for champagne. So speaks to their fondness of alcoholic beverages.
You can't blame them. And then obviously, as we get to the tourists over here, this is the most popular one.
The Fraternal Kiss, which is very interesting take. I think it's to me that's meaning that it's from a Russian artist. It was a Russian artist who painted it, and what gives it strength is the message below, which states it's written in Cyrillic and in German. It states, "My God, help me survive this deadly love." So you have these two men kissing, creating this problematic alliance between the Soviet Union and Eastern German, represented by their leaders, Honecker on the right side, the many years leader of Eastern Germany with Brezhnev, leader of the Soviet bloc. I think most people, myself included, when they look at this, see an artistic depiction about this alliance. It is not. This kiss did happen on October 7th, 1979, for the 30th year celebration of the foundation of Eastern Germany. It was not uncommon for socialist leaders to kiss on the cheek or shortly on the lips, so no French kissing involved. But it was not impossible to take place. And Brezhnev was also known for his liking of vodka, which can bring some certain warmth and expression of emotions that ended up being a kiss.
And this was actually captured on camera.
Yes, yeah, I can show you the original take, yeah. Here it is.
Wow.
So it was a very smart idea also from these artists
Yeah.
to use this historical moment to...
But strangely, this picture is more famous now.
Indeed. Yeah.
Was there ever potential that may have had a relationship?
No.
No, it's just one of them now.
Unfortunately, I have never experienced it, but I've heard from a colleague of mine, some people have a homophobic take on this. Like they are not comfortable with two men kissing explicitly. But what can you do? It's Berlin. We are very comfortable with diversity.
Yeah, and it seems judging by all the tourists here, no one's
Caring
uncomfortable.
about that,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we have just to make our way through. There's no other
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah, we gotta go. Yeah.
You always destroy a picture.
Oh yeah.
That with digital pictures, you can take multiple ones. You get one.
Yeah. So there was a message back there that had, if we're not careful, we could lose freedom. You might be able to remember the words a little bit more.
You've learned the meaning of freedom. Do not ever forget about it again, so to say.
Obviously, there's a lot of changes in the recent month around the world and everything, but there was an ABC documentary that's focused on German censorship And there was also a censorship one back there, which is your favourite was all about censorship.
Yes.
Which I love that because I'm anti-censorship. I don't know if you saw the documentary, ABC's 60 Minutes, and they were basically interviewing these. And I hope this is not offensive. The modern day Stasi.
In Germany we say, das wird man wohl doch mal sagen dürfen. So we are here with crimes of talking, posting in internet, and the people are surprised that this is really illegal to post these kind of words.
That's insane.
They don't think it was illegal?
No, they don't think it was illegal. And they say, no, that's my free speech. And we say, no, yeah, free speech as well, but it also has its limits.
People like this make a mockery of the freedom of the citizens of their country. Benjamin Franklin once said, whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech. Now don't get me wrong, we've lost freedom of speech in England. I don't think we ever had it, but it's sad to see my German brothers losing theirs as well.
They're arresting people for social media posts, they're arresting people for memes. They do the same in England. Just wondering what the average German's take on it.
Refer to Germany or to the US?
Germany, yeah.
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
You take a picture of what a cunt looks like.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there.
I have no respect for these laws whatsoever.
If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you in the internet, if I insult you or a politician,
That sticks around forever.
yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Okay, I've read about one or two cases. I cannot think of it as a all across society phenomenon, but if that is happening, it's problematic to me.
Yeah.
You can even, especially if you are a public figure, if you're a politician, you are opening yourself to be object of criticism and teasing, even for your physical appearance. And it's not that I'm defending that you should be mean to each other by addressing physical attributes, but if you are in the open space, I think it's understandable. And you should not be going after people and knocking at their doors to ask for a clarification for that. Like, once you're in the public sphere.
What about private to private?
Sorry?
What about private individual? Makes a joke about another private individual.
I think it's not a criminal offense.
Yeah, it seems that they're making it one though. I just wondering. Don't worry. I apologize if you don't mind.
that's right.
I just think it's interesting.
I don't have more insight into that than what you're mentioning. So I also, a columnist of my newspaper wrote about one of those cases that a Green Party politician filed, and apparently someone was knocked on their door to clarify why they posted something about her.
After all this, are you seeing less hateful comments now on your social media feeds?
Yes, there are less hateful comments. And there was one tweet which says, don't say that to her, she will take you to court.
You might sue them.
I might sue them.
So that's something that now I have fresh in my mind, but it's still the exception of the rule. But of course, when you have these exceptions, you have to be aware they don't become the rule that they're saying.
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders. But in most cases, a judge levies a stiff fine and sometimes keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked.
Dude, that's evil like I've never seen before.
It's a kind of punishment if you lose your smartphone. It's even worse than the fine you have to pay.
Because your whole life is typically on your phone now.
This country, of course, and I'm not taking sides here, the Israeli-Palestinian question is very, very tricky because of the past of this country with the Jews. What you can say, we cannot say. Very, very hard to navigate.
Yeah.
Without censorship.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Another. This is just cute. Walls all over the world.
Yeah, some are more political than others, whereas and I think it's probably to do with the fact that they didn't expect it to last, did they?
No, and it was supposedly to speak about those days.
Yeah.
Not more than that.
It was like
another Russian artist, also very powerful. I like the name, the diagonal solution of problems. In socialistic societies, you were forced to say everything's great. You have a chain thumbs up forming the diagonal, the solution to any problem. Everything is fantastic, everything is good. Also from a Russian artist, I think these two, coming from people that witnessed the other side, being in the Eastern Bloc, of course, adds a lot to it.
I love it's the days before Facebook, on the days before likes, and it's so... it's good.
It's very simple, bringing at the center of world peace, the doves.
Yeah.
It's a nice concept, like, fortunately today there's no garbage, some people garbage there. She left this vase for people to put seeds and let things grow. So the message is let it grow. Like democracy and freedom, they need to keep growing. So.
How long did the vase or the vase last?
Oh, it's been there, and sometimes there's things growing. I'm just happy that last time I was here, it was full of garbage. So some people were just throwing garbage rather than seeds. I think for some people it's not clear. It's also only in German.
Yeah, but if they put like a flower pot up there, it would be more obvious, no?
Yeah. But they have earth on it, so you can. And for me, the most disregarded is this one because also it's a less known story. I think it aged very, very well, still very provocative. Also, not she's black, so it is a provocation to discussions that we can still be holding today about everything. But it was particularly inspired on a situation of abuse, on a verbal attack on lesbian black woman on the subway in 1990 by an extreme right-wing supporter.
Right.
He shouted out at her, "You should be gassed." Something that it's not even allowed to be said in this country for
And this is
good
in Germany,
reasons.
was it?
Yeah, this was in Germany in 1990 when this was taking place. So this artist decided to paint his mural speaking to the rights of every minority, let it be color, homosexual or other minority, and calling up for civil courage. If you ever observe such an abuse, do speak out, take action, expose it, and don't let it perpetuate.
Yeah, I think it's great that they've done the anti-tagging. Did you see it before they were redone? Did you?
No, I didn't know. The first time I was in Berlin was 2009, so it was right at the moment that they had repainted them for the 20th year celebration of the fall of the wall.
Really?
Not a weekend special on a day like this.
This is what?
Just became a popular spot directly by the river. I'm still getting used to the new branding of the arena, the Ober Arena and the Ober Music Hall.
Yeah, what?
And that means this is the Ober Square because it gets the branding of the square as well.
What was it called before?
It started as O2, like in London, and then it became the Mercedes-Benz.
That was the last.
Till last April. So the Uber sponsoring is still it's been there for less than a year. Still
Is there a slang name? You know, people sometimes they go with the brand instead of and the brand then hates it because nobody calls them the brand.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But no,
they have a nice rooftop bar there where people are standing. It's a hotel, and it's a nice rooftop overlooking the river that was still part of the Eastern Territory. So only the other bank would have been West Berlin, and that's why here you have an exception in the wall. We are walking just along one wall. Usually you had two. When you speak of the Berlin Wall, you speak of two walls, the outer and the inner, with no man's land in between, full or with a security protocol to prevent people from crossing from one side to the other. And that's why some people occasionally are underwhelmed that the wall is not as tall or as thick as they had imagined. But two walls and on the security protocol, it was more than enough to keep on.
I'd love to see them try getting over that with you got the the gunpoints and the dogs
and everything. And since the river was bordered and acted as a barrier, they only built one wall here, so you don't have a second one. So
really?
That acted as the outer wall, and exception this is the inner wall, but it has the shape of the outer wall. Usually this shape you only find it in the outer wall, and it's only from 1975, because even the Berlin Wall was subject to a process of industrialization. You have to bear in mind it was about 100 miles, the Berlin Wall, enclosing West Berlin in the middle of Eastern Territory. So it was expensive and labor-intensive to build it and to maintain it. So throughout the years, the wall was up for 28 years, and on the 14th year they came with this prefabricated model with big roots that you don't have to dig foundations, and you just bring them and assemble them together. And they added this cylindric cubic shape on top, just to make it even more difficult to have a home to try.
Oh, really? Okay, so that was to stop with the grappling hooks or stuff like that.
Yes, but and this was very soft, so it would be very hard to find any support to climb it up. The river itself, it's a tragic memory of how things were. Some children that were playing in the West Bank that fell into the river, drowned, because when they were to be rescued by adults, this side shouted on megaphones, "We'll be firing at you." So people drowned, namely children, because no assistance could be provided to them, because this side was saying it's our territory, we'll be shooting. It took 10 years for the two sides to negotiate a compromise that in situations of emergency, assistance could be provided.
That's crazy. It just shows the craziness of bureaucracy.
Like you cannot even think about it. Like it sounds very, very odd.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's crazy. There's not an escapee. That's children.
Okay, unfortunately, I cannot show you all the extension of the wall.
No, it's great.
We'll be
No, we're
for the
100 miles.
Well, just this mile would be enough to keep us busy for another hour. And here you have the perspective of a watchtower. The great structure on top of the building, that was the watchtower to control the bridge. Now it's a private venue, you can rent it. I've been there pitching for a startup. It's a little bit odd.
Yes.
Beautiful views, of course, as you can imagine. You're high overlooking.
Didn't there used to be a bar upstairs, or is there still a bar upstairs?
I don't know if it's upstairs. Like downstairs for sure. Upstairs, I only know it as a private venue. Actually, of course, you can rent, and they have a bar and they serve drinks. I think not open to the public. That could have been at one point. A very cute detail about this city. Do you see that red sphere on the other bank?
Yeah.
Can you guess what it might be?
I'm short-sighted. what's? I don't know, even my camera's not picking it out very well.
Okay.
What is it?
We'll be crossing the bridge anyway.
Okay.
It's not very important to your story. It's
Let's
just a curiosity. This used to be the port of Berlin. So the city had trade, and this was an industrial area, and you would have the port here. And to keep that memory, that when ships would sail by, you would wave at them and say hi to the captain. They installed a mechanism that when a ship sails through, the sphere will go down and back up as saying hi.
Okay.
It's very unique, and it took me a while to find the meaning of it. I thought it was just an artistic installation. I hadn't, it's not that you have a boat sailing through every time that you see it going up and down.
But you've seen it in action?
Yeah, I've done. And I celebrated my birthday on that restaurant, and I directly asked them, what is this? Can you finally clarify what this is about? I like the balance. I also like that even this company, specifically Fork and Walk, we have walking tours in different neighborhoods. So it's not always the same. Diversifying, show different sides of the city. Because that's a great thing about Berlin, very contrasting from one side to the other. So.
Do you have a favorite part of the city, or is that impossible to say?
I think I'm too spoiled with my neighborhoods, and I live there and have my wine bar in the same neighborhood, so with a market hall, and I got to know the neighbors and the business owners. So I feel very biased towards my neighborhood.
What's your neighborhood?
The Bergman neighborhood. in Kreuzberg.
Okay.
The other side of Kreuzberg, so to say. And also very unique to Berlin, the southern part of that neighborhood was not bombed. So you can have an experience of Berlin how it used to be in the 1800s.
Beautiful buildings around there.
Because it's close to the former Tempelhof Airport, which the Allied forces intended to use in the aftermath of war.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you didn't have precise bombing according to coordinates. It was by area. So they didn't bomb too close to the airport. So you have this southern part of that neighborhood that is just like in the 1800s. And it really shows Berlin was had the same fashion of Paris, Vienna, Budapest. It was a beautiful city of the 19th century.
Yeah, it's such a waste. It was some of the pictures. I mean, there's a lot of amazing photographs from the pre the war, and it's just.
I'm also always taken aback, and I love looking at those pictures and try to understand where is what. Once you know the city, like
trying to understand sometimes is just like, you know, the amount of devastation is just phenomenal. You know,
I think it makes it a city that has very different feedback from visitors. Some don't get it; they find it awful because like it's just modern buildings and a lot of things mixed up. Others see beauty in that because it speaks to the history that the city went through. So, but it's definitely not Paris or Rome.
No,
like,
but it's got, you know, even...
It has another charm.
You know, just going, you know, when you go looking at the car park and you know that was, you know, Hitler's bunker, that just a random car park looks, you know, it has an impact on one's soul.
Or when you think, like, when I think of the Boros Sammlung, I don't know if you're acquainted with it, it's a private contemporary art collection of Stanford.
Wow.
Privately owned.
Okay.
And the collector, he bought a bunker, a flank tower. So that exhibition is in a flank tower.
Yeah.
Which before it was bought by him was the Berghain of back in the day. Before Berghain was Berghain.
Really?
It was that bunker. People partied there. And so before that, Eastern Germany used it to store bananas, which was a very scarce good. They wanted to hide it, but because of the architecture of the place, it started to smell in heat days to the outside, so people found out there were bananas being kept there. And if you walk past, you'll see there's a banana graffiti on that flank tower, speaking to that story of bananas. It's just by the Friedrichstadt Palast.
Yeah.
So that's also a very cute story that it sometimes doesn't speak to the idea of Germany that you have, because it's a very bureaucratic place, and that flank tower is under protection, historical protection. The current owner wanted to change parts of it for the exhibition of part of his collection. He only changes the exhibition every 5 years, so now I think it's the 4th exhibition. He just showcases part of his collection that he curates for the exhibition. So he wanted to take away one floor to have tall installations, this and that way around. Not possible. It's historically protected. So at one point they suggested to him, build a private apartment, a condo, at the top of the building, a rooftop, basically, as your private establishment, and register all the rest as a basement. And then rules do not apply to basements, so you can change your basement
as much as you like.
Correct. So it's an overground basement under the apartment at the top of that flank tower. It's a very unique.
That's something that Berliners are very, very good at, creativity.
This bridge has a unique name, the Over the Tree Bridge, and this used to be, well, on the other side used to be the east end of the city. In 1744 they created a new border, a customs border to the city with 18 gates, the most famous being the Brandenburg Gate. Another one was the Silesian Gate here. So people to trade in the city, they would have to pay customs or to present a residence permit. And to prevent smuggling at night, they would lower tree branches from this bridge with metal spikes, so people will not be trading, smuggling goods to the city at night. So this is literally over the tree bridge. The current style is from later on. It's a more recent end of the 19th century. We have the Berlin Bear on top of one tower, the Prussian Eagle, on top of the other. And after unification, this was bridge and these tracks were not used for many, many years because of the division of the city. So it still took 4 to 5 years to get the tracks in condition of the subway to operate, to run again. Big festivity in 95 when it reopened and the subway connected east and west. And this central part was designed by the famous Spanish architect Santiago and he has this, or he incorporated this work in the middle, these spheres. If you come at night, you'll see it lightens up in neon colors to dynamically create the shape of paper, scissors, rock. So you can play dynamically with that installation.
Hang on, so it's changing randomly, is
Yeah.
it? I've never noticed that.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It is.
So, wow, okay.
Now you have 2 of them, so you can keep playing. If you
And
get bored with one, you can move to the next one.
So where does it happen again? It happens
at night. Once it's dark,
But here, where does it light up?
The spheres, the circles.
The circles, okay.
The 2 circles.
And it's just constantly
going on the shape, paper, rock, scissors, dynamically, randomly. You can be tempted to interact back and try to.
Your graffiti hasn't ruined it.
No, because it's neon color, so it's really, really bright. So it will be very present.
Yeah. Nice.
And it's on the 2 sides, so I don't know if the other side is as dirty as this side. Usually, we always like to tease you with the sculpture that you see down the river. Very famous one down there. Usually, we call it your psychological test. How many men are you seeing, and are they hugging or are they fighting?
What are we looking at?
A sculpture on the river. Do you see it? Gray structure.
Oh yes. Yeah, let's try and zoom in here. Yes, the big one at the back.
Exactly. How many men do you see, and are they hugging or are they fighting? What's your take on that?
I always thought it was 2, and it was they're fighting.
Yes, but in fact it's 3 of them. It's just the perspective that we have from where we are standing. We only see 2 of them.
Okay.
But it's 3 of them, and they are hugging, because that's in the intersection of 3 Berlin districts. So it's the districts coming together. 2 former eastern districts, Friedrichshain and Treptow, meeting Kreuzberg. So it's Berlin coming together.
Wow. I was admiring that on the other bridge a while back, maybe a year or so ago, and I didn't realise it. You see all these little snippets of information.
Yes, don't ask me about it because I'm not an expert in sculpture or on this sculpture, but I had someone who's studying sculpture, and she identified immediately the artist. Apparently, it's a very relevant work of him that he was here in Berlin.
Fantastic.
For me, it's very hard to look at that wall there, that is gray, because that used to be my favorite mural in Berlin. It was removed 18 months ago, about it. The Pink Man, and I'm really sorry that I didn't speak with the artist to keep it aware, because like this used to be there. The Pink Man, which was a mural from Blue, an Italian artist, speaking about autocracy and tyranny, so still a very relevant message. It was a monster made out of people living in fear, pointing out, and in the end, the monster they created, it's the parts of it, so each individual that created it. So fear is not the answer. Living in fear is not the answer.
And why did they get rid of it?
They insulated the building. But I think it's...
That's what they say.
But I think it's very short-sighted. It was really an impactful one because you'd be crossing to the other side and it would be there really making an impact. And it was right next to Watergate, one of the very famous first-wave techno clubs of Berlin that started at Tagelle. No, that was Tresor, sorry.
Yep.
But Watergate and Tresor were part of the first wave.
It's how Solomon got his stripes. He had a residency there for many years.
And Watergate just shut its doors on the 31st of December. It was their last party. So it's one of those things that is hard still
So
to
not
assimilate.
only did you lose the Mural, you lost one of the
Lost
greatest,
club.
well, one of the great clubs.
Yep.
And is it shut permanently or?
Yes. Yep.
I did not know it shut permanently.
Yeah, the New Year's was the big final party. So New Year's 24 to 25. So it's very recent.
I didn't even.
Sorry for breaking the news. Like it's not the uplifting ones. It's,
many a good night there.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you have many.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I once had one problem. No, because normally that was you never had an issue getting in there.
No, compared to other clubs, it was
It
more
was
relaxed.
pretty easy. Apart from one time, I turned up at that club with a woman on my T-shirt, and the lady took offence to that. No.
Okay.
And she's like, "Well, that's sort of." I took it off, put it in reverse, got in. But it was just a bit like, come on. It was the only time, but compared to all the other clubs, it was always very easy to get in. So it was great club.
Like, and also, like, I think there was more diversity in terms of fashion. So you also had people better dressed for Berlin standards.
Yeah.
So you could go occasionally on a shirt, which is unseen. Like, usually you always say you have to down dress in Berlin to go out. You don't dress up to go out.
As a fighter for free speech, I will keep making these videos. If you want a similar tour to this, check out Fork and Walk, and hopefully I will see you in the next video where I will show a little bit more of Berlin or something else. Click that subscribe button and hopefully I will see you in the next video.